When we talk about real estate and mortgage specifically, what are you seeing are technologies that are currently like being utilized that are utilizing blockchain within the industry right now? And then is it starting to trickle down yet? We'll get into some of the stuff coming later, but how much is actually being currently put into play or that's being used today?
In the mortgage industry, I'd still say it's very little. In the United States, a lot of it's being done in the healthcare and energy space. Educational space is using it as well. In the lending space, you are seeing some banks that are starting to adopt it, and you're also starting to see some of these consortiums come together where banks work with one another to create a stable coin. And what that means is it's basically using a means of a currency that is acceptable by all parties involved that's backed by some sort of an asset. And that asset is a viable asset. So when something is utilizing a fiat, US dollar is a note. It's a fiat currency, and a lot of people don't realize that. But when you're backed by the fiat U.S. dollar, even though we've recently downgraded it, there's still a lot of value to that. Some of the issues that we saw in the news in the last 6 to 12 months with some of the companies involved in crypto that went out is they were backed by algorithms. There was nothing there to it. So there's definitely a big difference to those things. But in lending, I mean, we are seeing some of the mortgage companies utilize the transfer of money from an escrow up front that can be used as some sort of a cryptocurrency. They have underwriting guidelines on loan to values that can be useful for that, for assets. And then there are companies in the servicing space too that we've spoken with that are looking at, for the same reason that you just brought up earlier and Debbie talked about, that whenever there's a data breach, that's because there's a centralized data.
Yeah, everything's coming from one server. It's not spread across multiples. Yeah.
It's not spread across one. So when you have a block on each one, this group that would hack would have to go to each one of those to get all that information. So the chances of that happening are very slim and nil compared to what we see in today's business. It's actually better. We are seeing also use cases with lenders that are also looking at utilizing digital identification. So when you have the banking side of it up front, KYC, which is Know Your Customer, KYB, Know Your Business, BSA, Bank Secrecy Act. A lot of that starts on the front end when consumers are involved with getting relationships with businesses, that you're starting to see this digital identity that is also anchored to a chain, which is one of the things that we're working on as well for digital identity through a qualified borrower medallion.